What do you do when your wife invites her ex to help and dares you to react? How do you keep your voice low, your hands clean, and let the paper speak for you when the moment finally arrives? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Tallis Voss, and I learned to keep my voice low when the room wanted me loud. I work in a warehouse where order matters, so small details speak to me first. 2 mugs sit on opposite ends of our counter now. A guest bed looks rested, and then not, as if someone used it for a few careful hours. Our daughter, Lena, asks simple questions about rules, and I answer with simple answers about kindness and time. My wife, Mila, says I confuse care with control. I say routine keeps a house from slipping. Lately, she talks about her ex, Artur, like he is a coach for feelings. She says he can help her feel like herself again. She calls it modern. I call it unkind. Friends frame me as jealous because I do not clap for every brave joke. I do not argue. I notice small things, a drawer that locks when I step on the stair, a phone that lights private and fades, a reminder that appears and then I dismiss. I fix what can be fixed and leave the rest alone. I breathe. I keep notes. I tell myself I will handle this properly when the time is right. I wake before the sun and stand in the kitchen while the kettle hums. 2 mugs rest far apart on the counter like neighbors who stopped speaking. I place a spoon so its handle lines up with the edge of the saucer. Straight lines help me breathe. The tiles under my feet still hold a little night cold. I watch the window change from dark glass to a dull gray square. I pour tea and count to 10 because counting gives my hands a task that does not hurt anyone. Mila enters with her phone already in her hand. She looks at the screen before she looks at me. She says she will be out late because her friend has a plan that needs energy. She does not use the word party. I say I hope she is safe. She smiles at the air and calls me careful in a tone that suggests it is a joke we both know. I do not push. I plate toast for our daughter and set honey beside it like a small son. Lena pads in with sleep marks on her cheek and leans against my arm. She asks if we can make a star chart for kind days. I say we can, if we write the rules ourselves. She says rules are good when they help people stop stepping on feelings. Mila laughs and says I trained the child to speak like a counselor. I keep my voice level and say kindness is easier to build than repair. Mila says I confuse care with control. I let the sentence float. Not every sentence deserves company. After breakfast, I carry laundry up the stairs. The 3rd step complains the way old wood does when it remembers too much. The bedroom door is open by 2 fingers. I hear a low voice in the hall, then silence, then the faint click of a drawer. I set the basket on the landing and fold a towel on top of other folded towels. I look through the gap and see the desk drawer slide the last half-inch and seat itself with a soft lock. I do not test the handle. I do not ask a question that deserves a performance. I look at the clock on my wrist and make a small note in my head where I keep times that may matter later. I pass the guest room and pause. The bedspread is smooth like a lake on a still morning. The pillow has a shallow crease as if a head lay there and then changed its mind. On the desk lies a clipboard with only 1 word at the top. Statement, no lines filled, no dates. Just a title waiting for a story. On the shelf sits a thin binder labeled Utilities that is not thin enough to be only utilities. I touch nothing. I move nothing. My care is not a show. It is a record of noticing. At the bottom of the stairs, I tie the trash bag and take it to the driveway. The street is quiet and clean, as if the night swept itself before leaving. A car rolls to a slow stop near our curb and checks our number like it is learning our name. The driver looks at the house and then moves on. Mr. Dobrow waters his plants with the patience of someone who enjoys small work. He says plants need help after hot nights. I say mornings are kind to leaves. He nods, and his eyes pass over the quiet car I also saw. We pretend to be people who only care about green things. I return to the kitchen and pack a small snack box. In the corner of the wall planner, a red circle has appeared around a day 3 weeks from now. No name, just a circle that means attention. A yellow sticky near the bottom reads, "Bring forms," in my handwriting. I cannot remember writing it, which does not mean I did not write it. I open my phone and add a private event. Downtown, 9:40 a.m. No address, 1 silent reminder. I close the calendar and slide the phone face down. On the way to school, Lena asks why Mom sometimes sleeps in the guest room. I say some nights are late and some mornings are sensitive, and sometimes a different room helps. She asks if different rooms help people not hurt each other. I say quiet helps, and time helps, and listening helps. She says she can listen. I say that is a star on the chart. She smiles and kicks a stone along the sidewalk until the stone finds a drain and hides. We walk the last block hand in hand. At the park after school, she climbs the low wall and announces the wall is a mountain. She asks if I think she can reach the top without touching the ground again. I say I think she can, but even if she cannot, we will try again. She nods like we have drawn a contract. She makes it 3 steps and falls and laughs and stands and tries again. I count for her because numbers build a bridge from fear to action. When she finally reaches my side, she asks if grown-ups get star charts. I say grown-ups get different signs. She asks what kind. I say steady mornings, shared plans, doors left open on purpose, and cups washed without being asked. She says those are boring signs. I say boring wins long races. Evening returns with the scent of street dust and warm brick. I wipe crumbs into my palm. I set 2 mugs to dry on opposite sides of the sink. Mila leans on the island with her phone as if it were a mirror that gives back the correct face. She says her ex, Artur, has been kind and has offered to help her feel like herself again. She says help is normal when people are honest. I say help should not look like harm. She says I am jealous and old and want to keep her small. I say I want to keep the child safe and the house steady. She calls me a wall. I do not move. When the house is almost quiet, I go to the landing. The hall smells like a faint line of perfume and a faint line of printer toner. I pass the office and see the printer asleep with a dark eye that remembers work. On the desk, a small USB is taped under a folder labeled Taxes. The tape is clean and square at the edges. In my pocket, my phone trembles with a call marked private. I let it pass. A message thread titled Follow-Up Lights for an instant and goes dark before I read it. I stand in the stairwell and breathe like a man who plans to keep breathing. And my calendar pings once. The screen shows the words Meeting Personal, with a dot that sits quietly on Thursdays. I dismiss the alert and close my eyes. I think of Lena asking for stars, and I think of the word statement, and I think of the guest bed with the crease that looked like a sigh. I turn off the kitchen light. The last sound of the night is a door latch clicking upstairs as if to say end scene. I arrive at the warehouse before most of the lights decide to be bright. The scanner guns rest in their chargers like tools before a storm. I line my mouse with the pad and open the ticket list. A stubborn inventory sync needs a gentle push. A label printer refuses to print black. A handheld device drops its connection when someone stands in a corner. I fix small things because small things are within reach. This is work I can keep clean. The morning warms and voices gather in low stacks around corners. A coworker glances at me the way people look at someone who has been mentioned in a story they did not write. He asks if I saw the video of the rooftop lounge where a group did a practice dance for fun. He uses the words practice and fun like cover cloths. I say I did not watch any videos today because I am working. He nods and hides his phone the way people hide candy from themselves. Oksana appears by the end of my station and asks for a quick word when I have a minute. I say now is fine. In the HR nook, the air smells like stale coffee and effort. She says there have been mentions with my name, and she wants to check that I am focused and supported. I say work is steady, and I can carry my tasks. I say I keep my private life private here. She says she respects that and to reach out if schedules need any kindness. I say thank you. None of this is cruelty. It is a mark in the margin that says eyes are on. Be careful with pens. Back at my station, I place a small sticky under the monitor. Bring forms. The words face only me. I open a spreadsheet and enter 3 initials and 2 dates. The pattern would be nonsense to anyone else. To me, it is a short map in a quiet town. Footsteps pass behind me. I minimize the sheet and open a knowledge base article about scanner pairing. When the footsteps fade, I close the article and return to the map. I do not rush. I do not write anything that looks like a letterhead. I save and close and let the file breathe in the dark. Before lunch, I walk out for bread and apples. The supermarket hums with the same song as yesterday. In the aisle with rice and beans, 2 women laugh at something on a phone. One of them says brave, the other says cringe. The words hang in the air like tags. At the checkout, a little screen shows an ad for a course on confidence. I watch the loop and then pay. On the way out, I pass the board for community notices. A paper about legal literacy is pinned at an angle. I read the time twice and then walk on without tearing a tab. Reading is enough for today. At the pharmacy, the queue curls around one shelf and then another like a careful snake. A teenager in front of me watches a clip that I pretend not to recognize. The sound is off and the captions are loud. A hand enters the frame and touches a shoulder that is not mine. My name moves under the hand like a bus rolling under a bridge. I study a rack of toothbrushes and pick none. My phone lights with a number marked private. I let it fade. The ceiling speaker plays a soft song about being free. The word free can do dangerous work if no one watches it. In the afternoon, Oksana sends a calendar invite for a system audit review. I accept and write a calm reply. I add a private reminder to my own calendar. Meeting. Personal 3:45 p.m. I do not need the reminder to know my steps. I keep the reminder because steady beats make quiet drums in a loud world. A coworker stops by to ask if I am all right. I say I am at work, and I will complete the audit list on time. He says good, and leaves like a man who carried a heavy box one step and then set it down. Evening sits on the warehouse roof. I send a small test job to the office printer to see if the driver behaves. The printer warms and spits a single blank page. The page is warm in my hand like a breath. Blank is not useless. Blank is a space that waits. I slide the page into a plain folder with no label and close the folder like a promise. On my way out, a sales rep grins and asks if I plan to react to the latest clip. I say I plan to finish my tasks and go home. He calls me calm, like it is a flaw. I say calm fits in any pocket. He laughs because laughter is easier than respect. I walk past the co-working building on purpose. Through the glass, I see Artur telling Air how to live. He gestures with a coffee cup like a wand. A woman next to him looks at me and then at the floor. I keep moving. I am not a ghost and not a witness. I am a man with a list. The sky is low and clean. On the metro, the car sways and the windows show smeared faces that belong to no one. A caption on a phone across the aisle uses my last name without permission. I stare at a public service poster about flu shots and read the words out of order until they stop being words. Home is a quiet room that wants to be a home again. I set 2 binders on the table. Home, bank. I do not open them. I open my laptop and create a clean desktop tree. Archive A, Archive B. The folders sit like empty shelves waiting for simple groceries. I label a small USB with today's date and slide it into a dish. Not hidden, not displayed. I open a browser and check tabs, storage options, delivery tracking, notary near me. I do not fill any forms. I am not rushing. I am learning where doors are. Lena brings her drawing of a house with a tall fence and a small ladder inside the yard. She says fences keep gardens safe. I say ladders help you reach what you can grow but cannot reach yet. She asks if we can go to the park again tomorrow. I say yes. She asks if Mom will come. I say I do not know. She nods like she already knew I would say that. She puts a gold star on the corner of her drawing and says, stars make people look up even when they are sad. Mila walks through the kitchen and drops a bag on the island. She says weekends should be free. She says rules crush joy. I say safety is not a cage. I say respect keeps rooms warm. She says I am a wall. I say walls can hold roofs when storms come. She rolls her eyes and sends a message to someone I do not need to name. I pick up a cloth and wipe a counter that does not need wiping. Clean is another kind of star. Night slides down the hall. The phone alarm I set earlier blinks once and sleeps. I sit at the desk and put on headphones. I make one short call with a voice that is steady and low. I talk about schedules and safe steps and simple next actions. I listen more than I speak. I thank the voice for the time and end the call. The house answers with a small hum, as if the wires have been holding their breath. The printer wakes for a second and then rests, as if to say it could work if asked. Before bed, I send one text to Mila. I say I will handle matters properly. One line, no decoration. She replies with a string of words about men like me and the way we make fun heavy. I read the words and set the phone face down. I do not answer. Silence is a decision. I check the wall planner and watch the red circle sit like a sun in a quiet calendar. I turn off the lamp. The room holds me without judgment. The rooftop lounge is a bright stage built above a tired street. I arrive because an invitation was phrased as a community thing where everyone knows everyone, then later as practice for a fun project, then as a good chance for me to relax. I choose a place by the railing where the wind moves the smell of sweet drinks away from me. Below, cars draw thin silver lines that do not care about our little show. The elevator opens and spills a crowd into the space. Daria raises her phone like a flag and tells the air to get ready. She pans across faces the way a lighthouse sweeps the sea. I keep my hands in front of me and count the seconds it takes for her to reach me and then turn away when I do not give her a story. Mila arrives wearing light that is not hers and carrying a smile that floats. She is followed by Artur, who treats the room as if it belongs to him. He says to a small circle that the night is about support and fun and that couples need courage and guidance to grow. He taps his chest with 2 fingers, then opens his palms like a man offering a trick he learned this morning. People laugh because simple shapes are easy to follow. Daria tells them to make space. She says she needs a clear lane for what is about to happen. I stand back so I do not become a prop. Music slides under the talk like a thin wire. Artur announces a demonstration. He says sometimes partners need a nudge to feel like themselves, and that help can be an art. He places himself behind Mila and moves her arms in a planned way that he calls flow. He says this is help. He says this is kindness. People clap because clapping is easier than thinking. Someone calls my name and tells me to smile for the moment. I look at the sky above the far high-rises. The sky does not clap. The sky carries the light and then lets it go. Artur bows too low and makes a joke about how some men confuse care with control. He says old rules create dust, and he is here with a feather duster. The circle laughs because the image is foolish on purpose. Daria swings her camera and catches my face. She waits for a flinch. I do not flinch. I step to the side and put on my headphones. The balcony wind catches a short call I make in a voice that would not wake a sleeping child. I talk about schedules and safety and respectful timing. I listen more than I speak. I end the call and take off the headphones. I do not explain the call to the crowd or to the camera. The call does not belong to them. I drift toward the bar line, not to drink, but to stand where people stand when they need a purpose. A man with a loud laugh says to his group that I am the past, and the past is a sweater in summer. He says brave people remove heavy clothing. The group laughs at the sweater in summer. Daria aims her phone at me, then frowns when I keep breathing like a person who has other plans in mind. I run my thumb across the edge of my wristwatch and check that my heart is not trying to run away. It is not. It works at the same pace it always does when I choose the work for it. Mila glides past with a bright glass and says to a friend that she finally feels like herself. She says help is a beautiful thing when people stop judging. The friend nods and keeps her eyes on the screen that holds a filtered world. I think of Lena asking if grown-ups get star charts and how I told her about boring signs that last. I think about doors left open on purpose and cups washed without being asked. I think about how steady can feel like a dull word until you need something that will not move. A security guard on the edge of the lounge looks at me because my face is quiet, and he is trained to know that some quiet faces are the important ones. I nod, and he nods back. It is not a friendship. It is a recognition that calm has a posture. I walk to the elevator and press the button. The doors open like a small answer. 2 people step in and hold a phone between them, replaying a clip of Artur's hands moving in planned ways. The clip is bright and easy to follow because the shape is old. I look at the elevator floor and think about the words we choose when we want to make old shapes look new. In the co-working lobby downstairs, Artur appears again by chance or plan. He talks to air as if the air agreed to be his audience. He slaps a stranger's palm and calls himself a helper. The stranger laughs the way people laugh when they do not want to be left out. I pass through the glass doors to the street. The air outside is late and soft and carrying small heat from the returning day. My phone buzzes with a message that uses my last name without asking me first. I do not open it. I look at a street map on the corner and name 2 routes home I have not used in a while. I take neither. I go to the metro because the metro makes a simple offer. Show up, wait, ride, leave. On the platform, a teenager watches the rooftop clip in silence and then types a caption that will be loud. The train arrives with a breathy rush. Inside the car, a woman shakes her head at her phone and lifts her eyes to me as if she expects a line I will say to close the scene. I do not deliver lines to strangers. I rate a poster about flu shots and say the words in my head in the wrong order until they are only sounds. I count the stops to mine. I stand and hold a rail that is smoother than it looks. The driveway at home is a place where the night is cleaner and the air says less. Mr. Dobrow waters his plants, even though they are not thirsty. He says plants forgive too much sun if you are kind later. I say late kindness is still kindness. He nods. A car idles for a moment near our curb and then moves on. I watch the red circles of its lights grow small and then go out. Inside, the kitchen holds still. 2 mugs dry on opposite sides of the sink. I look at them and think, this is a sentence I can read. On my laptop, a Cloud Sync pop-up appears and says, file uploaded successfully. The words are small and clean. They do not wave a flag. They are a simple nod telling me something went where it needed to be. I close the lid when a hallway step gives a note. I am not hiding work. I am not presenting it either. I am building a steady floor inside myself while the house relearns how to hold its own shape. I sleep light because light sleep lets you hear the world before it decides to become a problem. In the dark, I hear a faint drawer sound, a soft lock that would not wake anyone who did not want to hear. I let the sound pass through me and keep my breath in even waves. Quiet moves down the hall like a slow river. I will not chase it. I will let it go where it is going. The family restaurant is bright in the way of rooms that need to convince people that celebration is a duty and a joy at the same time. We sit at a long table that looks like a road with forks. The air smells of onions, butter, and something sweet made earlier than it should have been. I choose a seat that lets Lena lean on my arm while still seeing the cake when it comes. Boris sits on her other side. He asks about school, and she shows him her drawing of a house with a tall fence and a ladder. He says ladders are smart because they are honest about needing help to reach. He keeps his eyes low when he says it. Mila arrives with Ivana and Daria like a small weather front. Ivana kisses Lena and then kisses the air near my cheek. She says families must be flexible. I say families must be kind. She says kindness should be flexible. Words can be bent until they look like a new object. Daria lifts her phone and frames us like a split-screen satire. She says she loves honest families while making a face that teaches people how to read the word honest in a new, crooked way. The waiter brings bread that falls into crumbs when you try to be careful. We order. Mila chooses something the menu calls bold. Daria says bold choices are beautiful and turns the phone so her followers can agree. Boris asks if the park was crowded yesterday. I say the swings were busy. He nods like the answer passed a test. Lena whispers that she likes rules because rules tell you where to put your feet. I say rules can be like paint on the floor around a pool. She says paint can be pretty and useful. She asks if promises can be practice. I say practice can be a way to avoid promises. She looks at her water and tilts the glass so the straw leans. The cake arrives with candles and a song that has learned to sing itself in any room. The lights drop, faces glow warm and soft, and the camera lenses glow cold and hard. Daria points her phone at Mila, and then at me, and then back at Mila as if she is tuning a radio. The song ends, the lights rise, and laughter sticks to surfaces like syrup. The waiter asks who wants coffee. I ask for tea because tea steadies my hands. Mila leans toward Daria and says I am doing my calm act again. Daria smiles like a sticker. Ivana clears her throat and begins to speak in a voice designed to sound like a ribbon on a gift. She says people deserve joy, and that fear makes people hold others back. She says her daughter is brave for seeking help to feel like herself. She does not say my name, but my name is the ghost inside each sentence. She says families must support growth. Growth can be a lovely word when you do not have to watch where the roots go. Boris coughs softly and asks Lena about her star chart. He asks what earns a star. She says gentle voices and on-time pickups. He nods again, more firmly this time. I excuse myself and go to the hallway near the restrooms because fluorescent light tells the truth even when people do not want it. I look in the mirror and see a man who minds his own business. I wash my hands longer than necessary and think about the 2 mugs at home and the way the guest bed looks when a head is not on it anymore. I open my phone and look at the calendar. The red circle still sits on the same day. I add a tiny reminder that says paper drop and then delete it. I slide the phone back into my pocket and count to 10 before I return to the table. When I sit, Lena asks if candy rings can still count as real promises. I say some promises melt under bright lights. She asks if rings that are not candy can still be jokes. I say some jokes are costumes for decisions people do not want to own. She nods like she is filing the thought. Daria says children are resilient and takes a photo of a crumb. Ivana says I should not involve the child in adult matters. I say I did not. She says my face involves her. I say I will try a new face. She does not laugh. Mila looks at her phone and tells someone by text that I'm stuck in a movie from the last century. When we arrive home, the house looks innocent, the way rooms do when no one is inside them to push the air around. The guest bed is smooth again, but the edge of the sheet is turned down by a neat thumb. In the office, the thin binder labeled Utilities sits straighter than it did yesterday, and it is still thicker than it should be for simple bills. On the wall planner, the red circle has a small blue dot 1 week before it. The dot has no label. A message thread titled, Follow-up receives 1 neutral line from me that says I saw what I needed to see. Thank you for your time. I press send and put the phone face down so it can eat its light in peace. From the landing, I hear the faint hum of a shredder. It runs for 3 seconds and stops, then runs for 2 and stops. It is the sound of someone unsure whether the page in their hand is a problem or a relief. I do not open the door that would show me. I stand with my hand on the cool rail and let the sound become a memory that will be useful as a note, not as a scene. Downstairs, I line up 3 binders, home, auto, bank, on a shelf at eye level. The shelf is clean. The binders stand like train cars that know their route. I do not feed them tonight. I only show them to the room so the room remembers we keep our own maps. The next morning, the park is gray and gentle. Dew gives the grass a wet shine. Lena swings and asks if homes can have rules like school. I say yes, and one rule is that people do not rehearse other people's pain for crowds. She asks if that rule has a picture. I say the picture is a door that closes softly and a person who waits to talk until their voice is not sharp. She pushes higher and looks at the sky through the metal frame of the swing set and says the sky is the size of a rule when you stand under it. I say the sky does not need us to approve it. She says rules do. Later, I stand in a pharmacy queue with a small bottle of soap and a receipt that curls. A clip plays 2 people ahead. The captions use my last name like a title that belongs to the crowd now. My phone lights with a message from a contact saved as a single emoji. The message says the clip is on a larger page and offers a link. I dismiss the message and study a shelf of vitamin bottles until labels become shapes. A child at the counter asks for candy, and his mother says later, and he believes later is a real place. At dinner, we eat in relative quiet. I set 2 mugs on the counter to dry. They sit at opposite ends like assigned seats in a classroom that is not working as a class. I place a small USB on the desk and write today's date on a label with plain letters. I open a spreadsheet and add 1 line that would only mean something to me. Footsteps pass in the hall. I minimize the screen and open a page about safe passwords. I close it after a moment because I do not need to pretend for myself. I need to remember that pretending is a waste of time when real work is waiting. Mila passes through and says weekends should be free and hearts should be lighter. I say our child deserves a house where jokes do not cut. She says I am making a sermon. I say I am making tea. She laughs without joy and asks when I became a lawyer. I say I am a father and a man who can read a calendar. She leaves the room and the air smooths behind her. I pour hot water and watch steam climb like a small ladder. Night moves in. I put on headphones and make 1 short call with a voice that does not shake. I talk about tomorrow and a building where people speak in clear lines. I thank the person for time and end the call. The printer wakes and spits a single blank page from a test I sent earlier. The page slides onto the tray like a quiet card. I pick it up and place it in a plain folder. I set the folder in a drawer that does not lock. I breathe and listen to the house breathe. Before sleep, I stand in the hall and look at the wall planner again. The red circle does not move. It does not need to. It is not a threat. It is a point on a map made by a steady hand. I set an alarm on my phone labeled paper drop for 8:20 a.m. I might not need it. I let it live anyway. I turn out the light, and the house sets down its weight the way a person sets down a bag after a long walk. I arrive at the warehouse early and let the building wake up around me. The lights come on in strips, the scanners chirp like small birds trying a first note, the forklifts hum in neutral like big animals thinking about moving. I sit, align my mouse with the pad, and open the ticket queue. Password reset, printer stall, zebra scanner not pairing. These are small problems with small doors. I open each door and close it again. It is work I can keep clean. A message banner tries to slide across my screen with a link to a rooftop clip. I do not let it settle. I click the corner and watch it drift off the edge like a cloud that forgot where to rain. A sales rep stops at my desk and asks if I am trending. He smiles the way people smile when the joke has teeth, but they want you to admire the shape instead of the bite. I say I am working. He says I am calm for a man in a video. I say calm is a sweater I can wear in any room. He laughs and moves away. My shift lead, Oksana, sends a note about an upcoming audit and asks if I can review a list of devices. I send a simple yes. The yes is strong and light at the same time. It does not argue with anything. It just stands. At first break, I step out to the delivery dock where the air is honest. Trucks breathe diesel. Pigeons take slow steps like inspectors. My phone buzzes with a number marked private. I let it ring until it turns into a missed call that means nothing by itself. I open my calendar and check a small square I marked earlier. Downtown, 2:15 p.m. No address, no notes. A dot sits on Thursdays for a recurring event called Meeting Personal. I do not open the event. The words are already as simple as they need to be. By lunch, I want shade. I walk to the park 2 blocks away and sit on a bench under a maple tree. I put on headphones and make a short call with a voice that is steady and low. I talk about timetables, about respectful steps, about safe handoffs, about the shape of a day that does not hit anyone. I listen more than I speak. I answer questions with yes, no, or I understand. I am not building a story for an audience. I am setting a table with plain plates for people who actually need to eat. Wind moves leaves above me. They speak a language I can read. I send Mila 1 message that says only this. I will handle this properly. I do not add any other words. She replies with a string of sentences about how men like me build cages out of calendars. She says rules are for cowards who fear being alive. She says bold hearts do what the moment asks. I put the phone face down and let her words pass like a truck on the highway. A boy near the swings declares he can jump from the low bar to the high bar. He misses and laughs. He tries again and misses and laughs. He tries a third time and reaches the high bar, and his hands find the cold metal, and he grins at his own fingers like they are good friends. On my way back, I cut through the co-working lobby. Artur is there with a coffee cup, telling the air about courage. He draws shapes with the cup like a magician with a hat that never had a rabbit. A woman next to him glances at me, then away. I do not slow down. The lobby smells like new paint and rented ambition. I push through the glass doors and return to concrete that minds its own business. At the pharmacy, after work, I wait in a line that moves the way tired lines move. A clip plays 2 people ahead. The sound is off and the captions are loud. My name is a label that now travels in other people's pockets. I study the shelf of vitamin bottles until the letters stop being letters and turn into colors. My phone lights with a message from a contact saved as a single emoji. It says the clip is on a bigger page and offers a link. I slide the message away. The scanner beeps. A child at the front asks his mother if later is real. She says yes. He believes her because he does not know yet how elastic that word can be. The metro car rocks me home. I close my eyes and count station chimes and feel the train surface for one long breath. The river outside takes a piece of sky and holds it, then lets it move. I step out at my stop and walk toward our street. The sidewalks carry conversations I will never hear again and do not need to. At home, I clear the table and set 2 binders at the edge. Home, bank. I set a third nearby. Auto. I do not open them. I take a thin binder labeled Utilities from the shelf and set it down, and I look at its spine. Thicker than bills should make it. I put it back without opening it. I am not here to rip anything. I am here to set edges where edges belong. I open my laptop and look at a spreadsheet with initials and dates. The cells line up like neat bricks. To anyone else, the row labels are meaningless. To me, they are a map someone could walk without getting lost. Footsteps pass in the hallway. I minimize the spreadsheet and open a page about safe passwords. I read 2 lines and close it. I am not pretending for anyone in this room. I flick open 3 tabs: storage options, delivery tracking, notary near me. I do not fill forms. I look at addresses and hours and make a note of which places have parking and which places are near metro stops. I label a small USB with today's date in plain block letters and place it in a shallow dish, not hidden, not displayed. The dish holds keys and a paperclip, and now the USB. It looks like tools that wait for a job. Lena comes into the kitchen with paper and markers. She has drawn a star chart with 3 boxes. She says the boxes are for gentle voices, on-time pickups, and making the table neat. She asks if we can add a box for people not making jokes that hurt. I say yes. She draws a 4th box and writes hurt jokes with letters that lean to the right, like they are walking somewhere. She asks if stars make people behave better. I say stars make people look up and remember where they want to go. She nods slowly like she is signing a contract with herself. Mila crosses the doorway and says weekends should be free of heavy talk. She says hearts should be lighter. I say a lighter heart can still keep its promises. She says promises are for people who dislike surprise. I say children like steady more than surprise. She says I am making our house a courtroom. I say I am making tea. She tells someone on her phone that I gave another sermon. I pour water and let steam climb. I do not fight steam. It disappears on its own. When the house settles, I put on headphones and make one last call. I speak to a calm voice about tomorrow and a building where people care about steps. I confirm a window of time, a place to stand, and a way to be seen without being loud. I say thank you. I end the call. I take the headphones off and set them in a drawer that does not lock. The printer on the desk wakes for a breath and slides a single blank page onto the tray from a test job I sent earlier. I pick up the page and feel the warmth leaving it. Blank is an address. It is where a fact will go when it is time. I save a file, and a small cloud in the corner of my screen says, "File uploaded successfully." The words are quiet and responsible. My phone lights with a reminder I had set. Meeting, personal. I dismiss it. I open the desktop and see 2 empty folders. Archive A, Archive B. They look like open hands. I close the laptop. The kitchen clock gives a soft metal note as it hands the minute to the next minute. The next morning is a clear pane of glass. I dress in clothes that do not argue with any room. I make Lena breakfast and add a star to her chart when she uses a gentle voice even after the juice spills. I tell her pickup is on time today. She smiles like on time is a gift you can wrap. I walk her to school, and we count the same 3 cracks in the sidewalk we always count. She waves at the last corner like she is sending a letter. I pass Mr. Dobrow on the stairs. He says the air will turn warm later. I say mornings help us remember we can start over. He nods at the truth like it is an old friend who visits every Wednesday. In the driveway, I face the street, not the house. I put the car in gear and the day opens. I reach the office on time and work until the set hour. I send the device list to Oksana and include a short note with 3 suggested fixes. She replies with a thumbs-up emoji and the word solid. I take my break and gather nothing but my breath. I pass a mirror in the hallway and decide I look like a person who minds his steps. It is the right kind of face for today. In the final hour of the shift, people send me 2 more links to clips. I do not click. The warehouse is a place for boxes and facts. I let the links drift past like dust in a high beam of light. At the end of the day, I shut down my station, check a list twice, and sign my name with a pen that has not failed me yet. The ink dries fast. I like that about this pen. I drive to the part of town where buildings have their own weather. The courthouse sits with a kind of heavy grace, a block of rules that also looks like a place where people cried and then breathed again. The lobby is tall and cool. Shoes click, doors sigh. Voices are small on purpose. I stand near a planter where a tree lives indoors because someone decided it should. I hold nothing in my hands. I do not check my phone. I let minutes pass like smooth stones. I move from one pocket to the other. The elevator opens and Mila steps out with Artur and Daria. They move like a front with color in it. Daria lifts her phone and frames the lobby like a set. Artur straightens his jacket with 2 fingers, then smiles at the air like he expects applause. Mila sees me and gives me a half smile that invites me to give her a scene. I do not give scenes. I am a man in a lobby. A neutral voice says Mila's full name. The voice belongs to a person whose job is to deliver facts with no adjectives. The person asks for a small confirmation. Mila answers with surprise that wants to grow into a laugh. The envelope moves from one hand to another. The person states the nature of the documents in a plain phrase that fits in a pocket. The phrase includes divorce petition and temporary orders. It also includes a sentence about possession and access while things are being arranged. The person does not raise their voice. The lobby does not clap. The guard observes the way guards observe when paper changes the shape of a day. Mila says this is a stunt. The neutral person says this is service. Artur says we should not do this here. The neutral person says here is fine. Daria aims her phone, then lowers it. The shot no longer knows how to make a hero. The envelope is too real. It does not filter well. It sits heavy in a hand that suddenly learned new weight. My phone buzzes in my pocket. It is a stack of messages that I do not open. One is from Mark. It says, only done. Another begins with Ivana's name. The preview looks like weather turning fast. Boris does not write. His silence writes plenty. I breathe and let my shoulders sit where they need to sit. I think of Lena at school drawing a star in the box for gentle voices. I think of on-time pickups. I think of a house that would like to be a home again. The neutral person explains that the first page outlines immediate steps. The phrases are basic and careful. There is no theater in them. A guard holds the door for someone entering with a briefcase and gives me a small, professional nod. I nod back. The nod is not victory and not sorrow. It is a recognition that rules can do work without yelling. Mila looks at me as if I'm supposed to crumble or crow. I do neither. I steady my breath and let the room be a room. Artur asks if we can take this somewhere else. The neutral person says she has what she needs. Daria runs her thumb along the side of her phone like she is searching for a filter that can fix air. Air does not accept filters. Air keeps being air. I turn to the guard and thank him for the calm. He says mornings stay calm if people allow them. I say calm helps people listen. He smiles with half his mouth as if he has seen days where no one wanted to listen and days where someone finally did. He presses the door switch for a woman whose arms are full of files. He does it without ceremony. I step toward the plaza. Outside, the light is clean. The city carries its ordinary noises like trays balanced by practiced hands. A bus exhales. A bike bell rings. Shoes talk to stone. My phone vibrates again and again. I do not open it. A revolving door turns at the same speed for everyone, which is a relief. I look in the coffee shop window and see the lobby behind me reflected in a simple square. 3 figures stand near the planter tree. One holds an envelope, one talks with his hands, one holds a phone to her chest like it might keep her warm if she does not use it. The guard speaks into a radio in a tone that says everything is normal. I place my hand on the coffee shop door and push. The bell above the door rings like a small, honest announcement. I stand by the window and let the glass show me the lobby one more time. The picture is enough for today. I buy nothing. I watch the revolving door complete another slow, fair circle. I think of 2 mugs on a counter far apart. I think of a thin binder that will become thin again when bills go back to being bills. I think of stars on a chart and a child who will count them because she knows counts help people breathe. The elevator in the lobby dings. The doors close on the three faces and the envelope. The sound is a clean, brief note. It does not need a speech. Cut to black. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.